Henry Cavill is officially out as Superman. James Gunn confirmed it. Henry Cavill confirmed it. Henry Cavill had come back. I guess, spoiler, if you haven't seen Black Adam yet, he was back as Superman. And it seemed like that was the direction they were going. It felt like he was going to get another shot. He was going to finally get that sequel to Man of Steel. And James Gunn decided that this part of the journey was over. Now, they did say that, there's a chance they could work together with him on a future project at some point, but, to be completely honest, I don't really see a scenario where that happens outside of some sort of weird multiverse type story that they might do in the future. And on top of this, Wonder Woman, that franchise is done right now. Jason Momoa, who was playing Aquaman, looks like he's getting recast as Lobo. And it also said that James Gunn had talked to Ben Affleck about potentially directing projects in the future, which to me sounds like he's being removed as Batman. And Ezra Miller, buddy, you better start looking over your shoulder because I think you're up next. It's kind of crazy. And I guess, as someone who's a big fan of DC, Superman being probably my favorite superhero of the bunch, at least on the DC side, this is a little bittersweet. James Gunn is allegedly writing the script for the next Superman movie, but it's going to involve a younger Superman who's, I guess, just started at the Daily Planet. I liked Henry Cavill's Superman a lot. I didn't know who Henry Cavill was when Man of Steel came out, and really the only thing that my only opinion on him was like, wow, this guy looks a lot like Clark Kent. Like, this guy has the look. He looks like Superman, which is exactly what you want. And, I thought he was a pretty good actor as well. I haven't seen Man of Steel in a while. Maybe he wasn't that good in that movie, but, looking into how things sort of went, it seemed like he ended up being a pretty good casting choice. Now, I do understand that this is probably going to be a controversial decision. Henry Cavill has a lot of supporters. The Zack Snyder movies have a lot of supporters. I say that as somebody that actually really, really liked the Snyder Cut, despite the fact that it was like 7 hours long. But I think this was necessary. And the reason for that is if you want to move on with this DC universe, James Gunn and Safran have this like 10-year plan. They're trying to do like a Marvel Feige style thing where he's thinking years into the future about what you're doing with these movies. I think you have to blow it up. As much as it might suck to sort of, I guess, start over in the sense of like either recasting people or canceling upcoming projects, I think this is necessary. I think the main reason is that nobody represents the Zack Snyder movies more than Henry Cavill. To my knowledge, that was the first superhero DC movie that Zack Snyder had done, not including Watchmen, like Justice League stuff. And he's the face of that era at Warner Brothers. And I think James Gunn, who, I like to think has a pretty good finger on the pulse of just sort of pop culture, that sort of thing. I think he was very aware that had to go. I hate to say it, it's like you have to cut the head off the snake. Like Ben Affleck's Batman, Jason Momoa's Aquaman, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, nothing compared to Henry Cavill as Superman. Superman, head of the Justice League, right? Like, or at least co-heads with Batman. But, the most powerful member of the Justice League, he was always going to represent that universe, that Zack Snyder universe. And if you really want to start over, you have to get rid of him, which sucks because, God, does that guy look so much like Superman? I mean, probably as close to Christopher Reeves as you're going to get, unless there's some young up and comer, which I guess is really the last point about this is like, So where do you go from here, right? James Gunn is casting, or he's writing a Superman movie. Eventually, you're going to have to cast somebody for that role who will unfortunately be mercilessly compared to Henry Cavill. Oh, should have just kept Henry Cavill. Should have been Henry Cavill, got a sequel, blah, blah, blah. Like that, all that dialogue is going to happen. And who plays that next version of Superman? There are a lot of different directions you could take. You could go Val Zod. You could go Calvin Ellis. You could go Clark Kent again. I think that whoever they decide to go with, they should honestly take the same route that Marvel takes with a lot of their more known heroes and the same route that Zack Snyder took when he cast Henry Cavill. If the hero is mainstream enough and big enough, go with somebody unknown. Go with somebody who was as unknown as Henry Cavill was to a mainstream audience as he was when Man of Steel came out. Right now, he's a household name for Superman. But 10 years ago, nobody knew who this guy was at all, aside from the fact that he was fucking jacked and the fact that he looked like Superman ripped out of the comics. I think you can probably find another person who fits the bill in a similar way to Henry Cavill. It's unfortunate that whoever that is going to be compared to someone that I think is probably one of the better actors to portray Superman. But this is, I guess you could see it as the downside of the casualties that come with new management, a new direction at the studio and where they want to take these characters. And maybe Cavill comes back at some point, maybe he doesn't. But I think this was necessary. And as much as it probably sucks right now, I do want to trust James Gunn. I want to trust that, I feel like he's earned it. He's earned it with his Marvel work. He's earned it with the Suicide Squad movie. I think that we have to trust that him and Peter do have a plan for where they want to go with stuff. And hopefully this gamble, because it is a gamble, and I think they both know that, but hopefully in the long run, this gamble pays off. On the bright side, it was pretty cool that we did get to see Henry Cavill's Superman one last time. It's just a shame that was the last time we'd see him. Thanks for listening.